Energy analysts say the role of the new Eskom CEO isn't to fix the ailing state power utility, but to transform it. Eskom surprised most when it announced dark horse Andile de Ruyter as its next CEO yesterday. De Ruyter will take up the position described by many as the toughest job in the country in January. We continue our discussion in studio with Black Management Forum President Andile Nomlala and SC Advisory Director Dr. Bheki Mfeka. Now, before the break, Andile, you were talking very strongly about the issue around black executives. What are you going to do about this particular matter? Because you're saying that in the past 12 months, 5 CEOs who are not black were appointed. What are you going to do to ensure that this, is somewhat addressed? Are you taking this matter to court? Are you going to be meeting with the minister? What is the plan?
And look, we're not planning to meet with the minister. We met with him several times. We had a Dinel issue, we had a Mango issue, we had endless discussions. So the Mango case is coming up. I think our lawyers are finishing it as in tonight. So we will file against that matriculant that was appointed fraudulently by, again, Minister Pravin Gordhan after overlooking a suitable candidate that was sent to him by the board. We have enough information and evidence to challenge that appointment in court. This one, obviously, the only recourse we have is to go and meet with the ANC, and there has been conversations that are taking place with some of the members of the top 6 to see them. If they want to see us, they will see us. If they don't, they won't see us. There is also a pending meeting of the President of the Republic with some of the groups of black leadership. I would be part of that meeting, and I will say to him head on, because to put Pravin Gordhan as a scapegoat, it's not ideal because he's just a mere minister. We want to deal with the President of the Republic, who is overseeing a new dawn that is purely and clearly advancing the interests of white people in our country at the expense of black people. Whilst at the recent past, like literally 4 days ago, you had a report from Stats SA stating it clear the plight of black Africans in our country. And this issue of the plight of black Africans is under the guidance of ANC government over the 25 years. The structural composition of our economy hasn't changed, hasn't benefited our people. Our parents, who struggles to take us to school to become professionals, competent black professionals, qualified, are now waiting for us to get jobs of being middle managers because there's no one in the ANC government who's willing to give us an opportunity, both in the public sector and the private sector. If the people and the bearers of transformation projects are the ones who are rejecting it blatantly, publicly, right in front of everybody, how else do you expect that the private sector that has been completely reluctant and unwilling to transform will transform? That's the situation.
Dr. Mfeka, energy analysts are saying that the role of de Ruyter, especially when it takes up in January, is not to fix Eskom, but to transform it. Do you agree?
Absolutely. There is a plan in place. The minister presented a few weeks ago, and the plan is very clear that the process will be to unbundle Eskom. Of course, the plan is very high level. The role of the CEO will be to deep dive and go into detail on how the unbundling will happen. And also looking at the issue of cost while doing that, also the issue of electricity prices, as well the issue of quality of supply, which has been a problem over time. So that's why the concern has always been you need the right candidate who's capable of doing that. And that's what we were expecting to get that type of a person. And the timelines that were given, you need someone who will hit the ground running, someone who understands Eskom and the challenges Eskom is facing, as well as, most importantly, the governance environment within which Eskom operates, which is completely different from the private sector, where your shareholders are not really involved in the day-to-day, and the board is fully empowered.
And for you, Andile, what should be top of his agenda when he takes over at Eskom in January?
Look, I don't know what he could really go there and do. He's going to be completely out of his depth. That environment is completely way above his pay grade from his history and to now. So it's a trial and error situation. I'm sure because he's white, he's got to be supported like it's happening at Dinel. And he will be tried to be helped till he dismally fail. And by that time, our economy will be on its knees. And to be quite honest, I have no confidence whatsoever in the process. And by the way, we must ask the question, who in this country has seen the business case that justifies the split of Eskom? Is expected out of that process? And with thumb-sucking that thing, who has done a thorough study and research that after we've broken Eskom down into 3 pieces, what will come out of that? Who has ANC agreed on that process? I've never come across anything. Now, what we do in this country, we find things that are spoken about in corridors, finding itself into the national discourse. We are educated black professionals. We could have contributed into the thinking and the knowledge that could have come up with a well-suited, amicable solution of Eskom. But now we are being fed an incompetent black, an incompetent white CEO and an unjustified breaking up process that you don't know what we'll get out of it.
Dr. Mfeka, there's often been complaints from some of the black executives in some of these SOEs that there isn't a commitment from government to, help out when it comes, or even support, if I can put it like that, the turnaround strategies that they are putting in place. Do you agree with that? And what does government need to do now? Because, as the debates around whether he should be CEO or not continue, Eskom still finds itself in the position that it is in because it is in debt.
Yes, that has been the observation over time. With the experiences of black CEO in SOEs. They have not been given appropriate support that they needed. There's always been interference from politics, interference right from recruitment of the CEOs, interference from nomination of boards, and undermining of reporting lines. You'll find the CEO reporting to the minister, undermining the board completely, which creates havoc in those SOEs, which is a setup for failure for most of the CEOs that go to SOEs. And that challenge, if you look at various reviews of SOEs that have been done, the most urgent problem that has always been identified is to fix the governance problem. So I would agree with Andile that maybe the diagnosis of the problem, of course, whilst the urgent issue to manage cost, but will you be able to do that in the environment within which the Eskom operates, in other SOEs? That has been always the challenge. The separation of roles and responsibilities, the appointment of competent CEOs, competent boards. And if you mess those processes, then you're likely to have perpetual problems happening. Like now, we seem to be suggesting, the allegations are suggesting that there was interference in the appointment, which is a problem that has always been there. But those are allegations, I'm sure. If they are proven correctly, something should be done as quickly as possible. By the way, we must remind ourselves, on Friday, S&P will make a judgment on South Africa rating, and this is the key issue they will be looking at. So we should be decisive on these matters.
Indeed. And Andile, do you get a sense that he will have enough support from the executive? Do you have confidence in him?
Look, Bongiwe, I think maybe the suggestion that I should prioritize in this interview is that the time has come that there has a separate process where professionals with all their CVs and credentials can submit their credentials into an open, independent panel led by all spheres of maybe a selection from the civil society, judiciary, the banks, the business leadership, where, like in countries like Chile, where we keep a database of skills that we have and the suitable, relevant, qualified people, so that, first of all, because this quagmire, it happened, it's not administration. We're coming from the fifth administration where it starts with mediocre boards, people who are also out of depth of understanding even the board, the companies that they are managing, and then they would appoint executives at the time that were Gupta pliable. We are now having boards that are appointing executives that are white Messiah pliable, and if we get to a point where some of particularly strategic state enterprises like Transnet, Eskom and others, we have a public interview process so that you see the credibility and the credentials of these people, not these fly-by-nights that are being sneaked in. And obviously they will be backed because the people who are appointing them wants them to succeed. And they would not succeed. We have a collapsed state because of a very same government of the last 10 years. And didn't appoint, and we are very clear here, fit for purpose people, particularly black professionals, not the political deployees, catered deployment blacks that have been appointed in the past and who turned out to be unethical and corrupt. We want black people who have gone to university, have worked and experienced and built experience to be the ones that are in the forefront of running our state and putting it back into place.
As the BMF, do you have a database?
We have approached them. Remember, we don't just talk. We do reach out and we do submit names. But because there's an agenda, a different agenda from the previous state capture agenda, that we then take the names of the people that they keep on their own pass so that they can do the asset stripping exercise that they are trying to do with Eskom, and that's what they are trying to do with SAA.
Did the BMF submit names?
History will tell us we did submit names to the state, to the BUSA list. I personally sent a list of people that could have been potential directors in these companies. And we do engage behind scenes. Eskom appointment process, we are never even being engaged. How many times I've been in Pretoria to the Department of Public Enterprise engaging on the issue of Dinel and engaging on the issue of Mango. For me, disregard the voice of BMF and they think it's irrelevant. But we are not talking to them now. We are talking in front of national. Didn't when it was during this time of state capture. We were all quiet, and including BMF, I have no exception, black professionals included. But we have since ceded our responsibility and the prospects of our future to scrupulous politicians who have no interest of seeing our country being put in a better place instead of serving their own selfish interests.
Now, Dr. Mfeka, part of the problem that Eskom finds itself in is the municipal debt. And there are some sectors of society that believes that this issue is plaguing Eskom because of political interference. How should it deal with it?
Well, it's part of governance issues that we're talking about, because Eskom is a commercial entity. It should seek to collect debtors and make sure that its books are in line with their plans. Of course, because there was political interference, and also the time it has lapsed, the debt has grown, and there should be serious look at. I know there are committees that have been there for some time. I'm not sure what decisions are being taken to make sure they expedite the process of resolving the debt issue, especially in Soweto. And I know that there is a political will currently, because I've had the Minister of Finance pleading with people to pay, and but there should be more than just pleading. There should be actual action on the ground to deal with these issues. And I've seen some people in communities trying to intervene. right there. The politicians must go down and resolve they should not leave it to Eskom, because it has been left for a long time to be where it is now.
Well, gentlemen, thank you so much for coming through this evening. It does look like this issue is not over yet, especially where you are concerned, Andile, and we will be keeping tabs to see what action is being taken after this, particularly from your side there. That is Andile Nomlala from the BMF, as well as Dr. Mfeka, who is the director at SE Advisory and former member of the SE Advisory of SOE Review Committee. Well, after the break, Mark Lewis will bring you all things sports stories from the Banyana camp and the Brazilian football legend Pele.